Carmichael now has moved all the way up to 5th. That's an impressive ride. And
that lead group, and I thought that lead group was pushing pretty hard.
Carmichael really pushing the envelope. He had 9 victories last year, getting the title. Let's go down and hear from his mechanic.
Chad, we saw Ricky get off to an awful start, but I got to tell you, he might be the fastest guy out there after 10 minutes.
Yeah, he came out like 35th, and he's in 5th right now, and actually his lap time's about a second and a half faster than the guys up front. And it's not halfway. I ain't making no prediction, but he's cut the gap from like 20-something seconds to 8th.
Are you telling him how far he's behind the guy right in front of him, or how far he's behind the leader?
The leader, because Larocco's right in the front of him right now, so that's more important.
Can't forget that moto last week when he went off the track and came back and passed 13 riders in the next lap, and then was gaining 2 seconds on the leader for 2 laps after that.
He has caught this pack. Larocco has too. I mean, Larocco's held Ricky back there.
Larocco to the inside. Larocco poured it on against Wyndham. And Mike Larocco moves into 3rd. Shows him a wheel. Look at the roost coming from these bikes.
I'll tell you what, Art, this is the most talented and aggressive top 5 I've ever seen in Motor off the back.
It's like the Larocco of old when he really used a lot of body and machine contact. Here comes Carmichael now. He's trying to pass Wyndham. Wyndham's got the target on his back, and look at that leaping move by Wyndham to save the spot.
Over the Davy Coombs double. I think we should call it that from now on. Look at Ricky just swapping down the hill, lands right in the braking bump, back on the power. The kid is so strong and confident. He doesn't care what kind of a bump he hits, whether he's in the berm or not. He's just pinned. Whatever's the fastest way, that's what he does. Look at this right here. After Wyndham kind of shoved him wide, he seat bounces to try to get over that double. It ain't pretty, but he didn't lose any time. There it is again, almost missing that, or hitting that hay bale there. Seat bounces the double just to be able to get over it, front end high.
Wyndham coming off a 3rd place finish last week. Carmichael an overall 4th place. These guys are still very much in the championship hunt. And look out for Carmichael. Good, quick, on the brakes, on the power for Carmichael. And Carmichael moves into 4th place.
Is he using the brakes? It doesn't look like it. Man, he is just pinned everywhere. Reaches over to readjust the clutch right there. Listen to that. I mean, the back wheel doesn't barely get set in the berm, and he's already wide open.
How far can Carmichael go up the ladder? Well, it's 2. Sacramento, Ricky Carmichael coming from mid-pack is really pouring it on. For more insight, out of the RC not making the podium last week. That was the first time in an AMA-sanctioned race since May 12th of last year. We're talking Supercross, Motocross the Nations, everything. Battle for 2nd place is on right now. Villeman trying to hold him off. And, Carmichael has gone down.
Guys, check it out. Ricky Carmichael fell down. Same thing happened to him last week at his first moto charge. He went down. That time he only lost the pass to Kevin Wyndham, but he's definitely not going to get after the podium, guys.
Right now, position for another overall victory. The checkers are waving. Sebastian Tortelli. Celebrate. Carmichael is looking for the first win of the day. Off and running. Tim Ferry clearly gets the whole shot here in the 2nd moto. Wyndham is right there. So is Villeman. Wyndham, number 14 on the Suzuki. He takes the lead away from Ferry.
I talked about how good that Suzuki sounded at Glen Helen. Well, that's what I'm talking about. He just outran Tim Ferry on the 426.
When I was talking with the mechanics earlier, they were saying that the 125s, they found a lot more horsepower in the Suzukis. Well, I think it's obvious they found it for the 250 as well.
Obviously. And, of course, Villeman gets around, too, but that was a little bit more of a technique. A much better start this time for Carmichael. Sometimes it actually works. They have a habit of really throwing that bike sideways as they go off jumps. Try to stay lower to the ground.
Here's Ricky Carmichael in 6th. It was my mistake because it is Ryan Hughes in 5th, right in front, not Tortelli. And that's Roncana, who's in front of him, number 21. The battle's between the two. Hughes takes the inside route on Roncana, makes the pass. Tortelli's actually, well, he's about 10th place back there. He's got his work cut out for him, David.
Well, just like Carmichael's having a hard time nailing down that first moto, it seems like Tortelli's doing the same thing with the second moto. So the overall now is up for grabs with him that far back.
Team Kawasaki mates, they're not going to rub fenders.
I don't think Ron Cotta's, he hangs around in the pits and knows, oh no, that's twice.
Ryan Hughes down again early in the race. This time he didn't have to restart it, though.
Kept it running. You know, I really wish Ricky wouldn't reach up in the air and fix his goggles or whatever he's doing until he's in the air. Now that scares me. Got a little twitch at the front end just as he was going off when he had his one hand on the bar.
Ron Cotta not giving up. He's trying to follow Ricky Carmichael and put a little pressure on his teammate. Stefan, of course, colliding with, and I'm sure he'd like to get the checkered flag again to stay in that points race and keep the pressure on the points race. Oh, the scene is set for a great battle here for the lead. Wyndham and Ferry going at it. And here's Carmichael moving into third on Velleman. 4 riders pretty close to each other right now. But it's Carmichael putting in the faster laps.
Well, I know he's going after the win right now. And they're right in sight. This is one of those days for Ricky where you're just absolutely focused. You're forced to focus on the war, not the battle. There's no way he can win the overall unless he just, shoot, if he did, he might as well play lotto tonight because it's going to be a miracle.
Here comes Ferry on Wyndham. Ferry passing for the lead. Back and forth we go out in front.
You can see right now that Ferry winning that opener, that's no fluke. This guy is on a roll right now.
And Ferry wants to stay high in those points. Pretty well after colliding with Ferry in that first moto, and Larocco takes him pretty easily. Now we shift back in the battle for second place. Here comes Ricky Carmichael against Kevin Wyndham. Ricky just blasts through those bumps.
That's just sheer nerve, Art. He landed right next to him.
Chad Watts, his mechanic, looking on, checking the watch. Ricky Carmichael in second place. He came from behind to win the second moto last week. Let's go down to Davey.
Chad, how was Ricky between motos?
Honestly, I didn't see him that much. He went back and relaxed in the air conditioning at his motorhome. I was busy working, but seemed fine. He just kind of ticked off at himself and a couple mistakes and just the way things are going.
After his early charger, he's up to second. Only Ferry's in front of him. Do you think he'll bide his time or go right after him?
I don't think you can buy time this year in this class. I think you got to take advantage of the time that you got.
Sure, words were never spoken, I have a feeling.
Yeah, you know, Chad's pretty sharp over there, and they understand. These guys, second place just does not cut it. Fifth, they don't even want to talk about it. Just go out there and win the next moto.
Ricky third in this race last year in the overall, going 1-4. He won twice here on 125s. On way to, 3 125 crowns. And a record-tying 25 125 outdoor victories, tying Mark Barnett's all-time record.
And look at him go right now, Art. I mean, I don't know that it's possible to go any faster than the way Ricky just went through that series of corners. And there's Ferry, who was setting the pace out front. So Ricky is the fastest rider on the track.
A good shot at the interval between first and second place. Carmichael cinching it up with every lap. Let's check in once again with the Racer X's Davey Cove.
What an excellent season. You know, I mean, remember the years when it was just pretty much Emig and McGrath or, you know, Emig and Dowd. I mean, now a couple of guys can, you know, I hate to think about it, but can drop out with an injury or something, and you're still going to have an unbelievable season. I mean, you know, just to finish inside the top 10 now is really something. The top 6 are just unbelievable, and it depends on the start and if you're riding perfect that day, if you can stay there.
A good example right here. Mike Larocco in 6th place. And he is riding really fast.
And, you know, it wasn't like he got a mid-pack start or anything. I mean, he's a tenth of a second on the guy ahead of him.
Carmichael now is looking for opportunity to move into the lead. Tim Ferry on the 4-stroke, trying to hold on. He couldn't quite hold the barrages off in the opening round at Glen Helen. Taking 2 second places good enough for the overall. But he'd love to pick off this moto win after a disappointing first moto.
You know, there was a time in the sport when the Europeans dominated, then the U.S. dominated, then it was Southern California, then it was El Cajon. Well, look at this, Florida again. Something about Florida. Now Tortelli lives there.
The year of the Sunshine State?
Maybe. These guys are like, heat? What heat? Doesn't bother them. Of course, they're used to more humidity than this, but I think that's worse. Now, this heat doesn't bother these guys at all. Look at Carmichael.
Carmichael to the inside, showing the wheel. He's trying all kinds of different lines now to the outside and has the edge on the corner. Can Ferry come back? Carmichael peers over at him. See what he might be contemplating. Carmichael is our new leader.
I'd love to know what was in the head of Ricky when he looked over at him. That was a long glance. It was more of a stare than a glance. I don't know if that was a, hey, take that, or, hey, bud, here we are again, 1 and 2. Now, look at this. Just about ruins the fencing, trying to find a faster line. He finds it, puts himself to the inside the next corner, and then he just stares back at Tim. Like, what took you so long to get through that corner? I don't know. It's hard to tell. I don't think Carmichael, I think he's done his mulligans and all the stuff he's going to do for the season. I can't imagine him messing up anymore. And Tortelli needs to take advantage of this right now while Ricky's just not quite squared away.
He's on the final lap. Not only is there a rivalry for points between Tortelli and Carmichael in the outdoors, it's a close battle between the two in laps led. After the first moto, Tortelli had led 20 laps on the season, RC 13. And I think RC will take over the lead right now with the laps he's led in this second moto.
The wind really kicking up now, and as these guys go up the hill and jump that the Davy Coombs double, it really tries to blow the front end out from underneath you. You have to kind of steer into the wind. See, they take it a little easy on the approach.
Well, it looks so slick on the approach now, too.
Yeah, that's more the wind. As soon as you get up in the air, it doesn't blow the whole bike. It always blows the front end away. Listen to it. If you can hear it like that, it's bothering these guys on the track.
Sebastian Tortelli, if he holds this position, will take the overall victory. Chad Watts looking at his rider, Ricky Carmichael, in great position to win the moto. And the crowd loving it.
Well, I think Ricky's proving to himself and to everybody else he's the fastest guy. But, you know, the fastest guy doesn't always win the championship. He's got to straighten out that first moto from now on if he wants to take over the points lead. Looks like Tortelli's going to have it and the overall.
The checkers for Ricky Carmichael. His second moto win out of 4 on the season.